Hey there. Are you scared? I'm just wondering. There's a lot going on right now in the world. It's pretty turbulent times. I mean, yeah, terrorism, pandemic, and hurricanes. Oh my. And when you're a mom and you're trying to nurture and protect your kids, it can feel overwhelming. I know I have been feeling overwhelming. But you know what? We're going to talk about it today on our show because I promised that we would not just be all flowers and roses, that we would get to hard topics, and we would not shy away from them. And today we're going to talk about one of them, and it is being scared and anxious. Yep, that's what we're going to talk about. So let's get to our intro. Well, I'm really glad that you joined me today because it's been a little weird in the culture. It's been a little weird with everything that's going on. And anxiety is at its all time high, not just for moms, but for everybody. And when that happens, our anxiety levels go up. We become super afraid. We either want to fight or flight, right? And our cortisol goes nuts. And we can't be the person that we want to be. I know that as I've been kind of dealing with this, as we all have for a couple years now. I mean, it's a couple of years, y'all. It's a couple of years. Like, oh, I just wanted to stop. But it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon. So we have to learn what we're going to do to manage this. Okay, so I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, and I can't give you medical advice. But what I can give you is real, been there, done that, in the trenches mom advice. Because I am Mona the Mom Mentor. And we know that moms like us have to do some stuff. We have to do some things. And today we're going to talk about one of those things. Okay, so now that we have kind of come to the place where we can really look at it and say, you know what, I have a place of anxiety. And I have to tell you, I have been. We've been taking my blood pressure for, a long time. And my blood pressure was up the other day. And then it was up the next day. And then my husband took my heart rate and he goes, your heart is racing. And I thought, this isn't going to be okay. I mean, I work out, I eat right, like it's nothing like that. It is a low lying anxiety that I was dealing with. And I was dealing with it actually, I wasn't dealing with it. And so today I'm going to ask you, are you not dealing with the low level anxiety that you're feeling? Are you managing it in a way that perhaps isn't really helpful? So what I'm going to tell you today is what I have decided to do, and I hope that it will be helpful to you. Okay, the very first thing right out of the gate is I'm a Christian, and of course, the very first thing we need to do is pray, right? We need to seek God because He is going to bring us the peace that surpasses all understanding. But somehow, sometimes, I don't do that, or I do it, but then I'm bouncing back and forth because I'm in the reality of the moment, and I forget to pull up the scriptures. Now, a couple weeks ago, I did a Moms Like Us show with you about abiding in God and how to stay kind of in His presence and in His Word. And I hope you'll go back and you'll watch that. So prayer absolutely is first thing, because this is where we're going to get our peace and this is where we're going to get our strength, is from God. All right. But the next thing we have to do is we have to look at the fact. Were we born for such a time as this? Like, is this our Esther 4:14 moment when Esther went in to see the king and she said, if I perish, I perish? I'm here. This is what God's called me to do, and I'm not going to tell God no. How does that relate? God might have something for you to do. God might have something for you to stand up for. God may have something for you to do in your children's school. You may have to go to a school board meeting. You may have to, go and create a petition. You might have to, this is America. You know all the things that we can do. I also did a show a couple weeks ago on Are You a Helicopter Mom? Actually, it was pretty good because you might be called to be a helicopter mom. Yeah. So how do we know that maybe God has something for us to do? So we have to ask him, is there something that I need to be doing about everything that I'm seeing? One thing is for sure, God has not asked us to run and hide. He is not. The disciples didn't get to run and hide. Jesus didn't get to run and hide. Christians all over are not called to run and hide. We're called to be a light. This little light of mine, don't put it under a bushel and all that, right? We can't hide. We can't run and hide. Although I have been thinking about, surely there's a piece of property that we could find that we could just go and grow a vegetable garden and, and just kind of be out there and be safe and on our own. And, I could do this from there. But no. So first thing, pray. Second thing, ask God, is there something I'm supposed to be doing? Because sometimes when we have anxiety about things that are going on, there might be something that we can do that will make us feel like, yes, I am doing something about it. There was a congressman, a Republican congressman at that, he heard that there was a woman and her 3 children that are American citizens, and he figured out how to get a bag of money and a helicopter, and he went and got them. He did. It's a great story. His name is John Wayne. No, not John Wayne. That would be good, wouldn't it? It was Mark Wayne Mulligan, I believe is his name. You'll have to go read his story. I'll put it in the link below so you can read his story. He felt something inside of himself that said, I have to go do this. Now, you might not be called to go do something like that, but you might be called to do something else. And so it's really important that you find out from God what that is. In the Moms Like Us Academy, one of the things that we do is we help moms figure out their gifts and their talents and their callings and spiritual and, in the world kind of things. And we start by looking at the 7 pillars of culture. And the 7 pillars of culture, this is a very normal thing that is cultures are built on. And we find those pillars and we find out which one really stirs in their heart, which one matches their gifts that they have, their spiritual gifts and their regular gifts, which one matches their strengths from the Clifton Strength Test. And we put all these together and we find the sweet spot of where your mountain is. Well, we can call it mountain or pillars. And so it would be, maybe it is government. Maybe it is media, which would be like news and TV and that kind of stuff. Maybe it's the arts and entertainment. Maybe it's education. Maybe it is business. Maybe it is religious, in the religious realm, religion. And maybe it's family. You might have one that's really strong and one that's a little more, a little less, but you can have 2 that kind of go together. Now for me, of course, I'm going to be family, right? And I'm also going to be either education or religion. I love to educate people, which is why we have the academy. But I dearly, dearly love my God and teaching people about Jesus, which is why I can't do the media. I can't do the entertainment because I say Jesus just too much. So find out what is your pillar? What is your mountain? Where do you stand? And then what can you do inside of that where you're at? Do you have a gift of service? Is there something you can do for the people in the hurricane? Do you have are you active in business? My husband, his gifting and his mountain is business and family. And so it's not unusual for him for those two things to be crossing. But he's very much a giver and acts of service. So it would be extremely normal for him to pop up and send money somewhere. That would be really normal for him. And he runs his business so that he can do that, right? Find the place where God would have you place. What are your gifts and callings? What are your talents that you have? You know you're supposed to be using them, right? Like, I believe that when we have children and a husband and a home, like, that's top priority. That's top priority. And it needs to be top priority. But you do have this other stuff that God's given you. And he expects you to use them first in your family, for them, and then for the world outside of there, in the areas that you're good at. So you should know what they are. And if you're not sure, then, email me, and my email's below, or contact me inside. We do it inside the Academy, so you can join the Academy, and there'll be a link in the notes for that too if you want to join the Academy. But finding out what that is, do you see? Then you're working inside your talents and your giftings, and God can strengthen you in those things. What if you're really good at communicating? In the Clifton Strengths Tests, there are, you take your top 5, and those are your top 5 strengths. Well, my top 5 are woo, which is winning others over, communication, ideation. I love to sit around and talk about ideas, input, and what was the other one? Forget. It's something like that. It's communication like that. I mean, it's just loaded. It's loaded for exactly what I do. My strengths are there for that. I'm not competitive. That's 32 on my list. And as far as implementation, I'm at a 12 implementation. I'm kind of in the middle. I can do it but I need help. So I hire people to help me implement. And knowing these things helps you work within not just your everyday life and the things that are fun and wonderful, but actually in times of turbulence, in times of great need. And I could give you a lot more examples, but I think you get the hint. Knowing what that is can lower that anxiety. And then once you know that, then you ask God, what do you want me to do? I mean, what do you want me to do? I was born for such a time as this. It's no surprise to you. In Ephesians, he said that he created plans for us before the world began. He knew we'd be here. And good works, that we're to do good works. I want to do my good works. I know you do. So finding that out and finding out those good works, ask God what it is. And then kind of just wait. If you don't know right away, kind of just wait. And kind of when something comes up and something stirs in you and you think, wow, that mom, she just stood up there to that school board, and she was so articulate, and she didn't lose her temper, but she was strong, and she was confident, and she made a difference. I want to do that. Maybe you're supposed to do that. Maybe you're supposed to help someone do that. Maybe you're supposed to be a support. Maybe you're supposed to help them write out a speech or something like that. We have to be strong. Strong doesn't mean angry and violent. But we have to be truthful, and we have to be strong. Our freedom is not anything to let go of. Other people's freedom isn't anything to pass off. When there's pain and suffering, We're America. We've been sending help to people throughout our whole existence. Are there people that need us? Are there people that need you? Find your mountain. Find your pillar. Find your gifts and strengths within it. And then listen for that grumbling inside of you that says, oh, I want to do something about that. When all of this is going on, all these things, what do we got? Terrorism, pandemic, we've got flooding, we've got fires in California, like the whole world is going. And you might even think this. You might think, hey, it's end time. These are the end times. I don't know what to do. I'm really scared now. And you might dive into Revelation and start reading, which, that's not a bad idea. It could be end times. But no matter what, it's our end times. We're only going to be here for a little breeze through the trees. You were put here for something. I want to know what it is. One thing I do know is once you find what you can do, your anxiety level will go down, even if it's a really hard thing. And God will give you the courage to do what you need to do or what He would have you do. And then you need to stay in your lane. You really should know what's going on. Don't turn off the TV altogether. Well, find a good source for news. But don't just hide and say, I'm not watching anything. I'm not finding out anything. Do your work. Do your due diligence. Find a source that you can trust. But be aware of what's going on, because God may have something for you to do in that. And as you're doing that, then you're going to be able to know what's going on and know what you're supposed to do in all that's going on. Because God has called you to do something. This is our time. And if you can stay in your lane and realize that there are people running alongside of you in their lane, on their mountain, their pillar, then you can be confident that God has people everywhere. And He has people doing what they need to do. Always pray, of course. But you have a lane. So what is it? You know, it reminds me of Nehemiah. Oh my gosh, I love, love, love Nehemiah. One of the things in the academy that we do is the No Regrets Motherhood Blueprint, your guide to raising kids, godly kids, in a world that's gone crazy. It's never been more accurate, this course. But the cool thing is that we use building analogies all the time. So of course I love Nehemiah because he was building the wall. For those of you that don't know, it's an Old Testament story, and Nehemiah, and you should read it. Nehemiah is a great, great story. But Nehemiah had the privilege of building the wall for Israel again in Jerusalem. And it is a great story. One of the things that I like about the story is that all the people that were helping build were on the wall, and they were in their section, and they had the ability and the resources to take care of their section of the wall. And it was brought in by Nehemiah, which is kind of like God giving us our provision. And then we are called to build our spot on the wall. And they were to have a hammer in one hand and a sword in the other. Because when the enemies came, they needed to silence those enemies and keep working. And they had watchmen on the wall that kind of watched to make sure to see what was coming, so everybody could do their work. Isn't this a great analogy for what we're experiencing today? It is. It's such a great analogy. And as it went through, there were people that would come up to Nehemiah and try to distract him. Oh, you know, this is this, and people think you're crazy, and you need to come down and tend to this because this is important. Nehemiah said, I'm not coming off this wall. And you know what? This is the coolest thing. Those people doing what they were supposed to be doing with a hammer in one hand and a sword fighting off the enemy in the other. They built that wall in 52 days. 52 days. That is amazing. My husband's a civil engineer, and he's like, this is a lot of what they did. This is, this is a miracle that they could do it. But they did it because they stood side by side, and they all did what God asked them to do in the gifts and talents that they had. So, all that to say, find those things. Pray. Discover what God has for you in this time. What's your place on the wall? What's your gifts and talents? What's your mountain? And then know what's going on, but do what you can do, what you're called to do. Don't get distracted. Don't let the voices talk in your ear. Swat them away. Stay with what you know. Trust God and believe Him that what He's building is for His kingdom. And it will be accomplished, whatever it is. Okay, I hope that helps. Let me see if there's anything else that I wanted to tell you. I love coming to you and talking to you about these kind of things. And yeah, that's it. Moms like us, we really do have to do things like this. We have to try to lower our level of anxiety. And as we lower that level by doing these things that I just told you, you're going to be able to be a calmer mom, because our kids don't get this. They don't get the cause and effect of if this happens, this happens. They can only feel the anxiety that we have. And it's hard for them to process. And so it's really important that we stay and keep our place on the wall, our homes, a place of peace and calm as much as we can, in chaos with little ones, but to have that sense of calm. Like our houses should feel like a warm hug. It should be a place where they can experience safety. Older kids, you're going to have to help them through some of this with the thought processes, and we can talk about that another day. But we need to put our focus on what God's placed in front of us, and that's our family, and to do the things that God's called us to do and know what those things are. We might just be in the end times. We might just be raising the kids that are going to have to be in the end times. Will they be ready? Will your kids be ready? Will they? Maybe we're raising kids that are going to raise kids for the end times. Will they know God? Will they know His Word? Will they know how to hear from Him? Will they know these things? We're going to talk about that next week. Yes, we are. So you keep a watch out. Maybe it's 2 weeks. I think it's 2 weeks. Because moms like us, we do things like this. We learn how to lower our anxiety, find out our gifts and talents and our mountain and our pillar that we're supposed to be on. And then we look to God and we stay focused and we accomplish what He's given us to do. Okay, that's it for now. I will see you next time on Moms Like Us Do Things Like This.